do not pan out, either in terms of their ability to corner the market or in terms of how impactful AI ends up being, then there could be a massive correction. And so the fact that DeepSeek was developed in China for less money and, has a fundamentally sort of different configuration and blew up some of the assumptions undergirding AI development and trajectory in the US was particularly significant, because there is a big question about whether there is a huge AI bubble right now comparable to, let's say, the 2000s .com bubble. And, I think that's a very real and live possibility. You add to that some of the things we're about to get into, like the housing market still sucks. Inflation now is going back up. Consumer sentiment is falling. You have Trump, who knows what he's going to do in terms of tariffs. The mass firings at the federal government. Yes, it's a comparatively small proportion of the overall workforce, but can have huge reverberating effects throughout the country. All of these pieces should make you pretty nervous.
Oh, absolutely. And all of the signs are there for some market problems. Put this one up there on the screen. This is from Friday, but just right now when we're looking at the markets as we're recording the show, the S&P is mostly flat today. But the Wall Street on Friday had a significant dip. It was almost 1.7% or so. The reason why I paid attention to that is it kind of came basically on macroeconomic news. So it was concerns here over the economy and on tariffs, specifically of the softening of U.S. consumer demand. I'm actually going to pair that with something really interesting that I just saw this morning. Over 50% right now of consumer spending is by the top 10% of the American income owners, meaning rich people are the literal backbone of the economy right now. That's actually really bad, because any change in their consumer behavior means what? Crash for everybody else. Also, it's really gross because what it means, I've always pointed this for years, what is Uber, Instacart, and all of these new companies, what are they all about? Serving the convenience of the wealthy, right? Airbnb, same thing. All of these are about luxury industries where people basically have a mass service class to service the top 10%. That's really bad. A more even distribution of consumer spending is what you want in a healthy economy. We don't see that. And then worse is E3, please, can we put up on the screen, is that the overall price for home sales remains at an all-time high for January, and the number of sales continue to drop as most people basically decide not to put their home on the market. You've got high interest rates, you've got high home prices. The median home price of a home sold in January was $396,000, which if you look actually at some of the top 10 metros, the price is roughly around $1 million with a 7% mortgage rate. So just think about, even if you want 20% to avoid PMI, and if you're in a major metro area, good luck to you. I mean, who has hundreds of thousands of dollars just sitting around? Not most people. It would take you a lifetime to be able to even save that up, not yet alone to save for the mortgage payments that come in the future. So it's very difficult, and this is probably what worries me the most, and is, in my opinion, the most existential threat to a Trump presidency, is some sort of bubble explosion. It could be, that's the thing about NVIDIA. It can still be a phenomenally valuable company, and it could still drop by 40%. Just because of how increased the price is now relative.
How inflated it is.
Yeah, just how much is there. Look at Meta stock, look at Google stock, any of these others over the last 5 years. It's insane. And then the billions of capex that they're spending on AI development. I think if we put all that together with weak consumer spending, and then even if you leave tariffs out of this, just the fundamentals right now are bad. Price all-time high for homes, lack of credit because mortgage rates are very, very high, consumer sentiment down. Actually, you're seeing an increase in budget stuff, which is not usually a good sign. It means people are tightening their pocketbooks. And then complete redistribution, where you have top 10% responsible for more than half of overall consumer spending in the US economy. So that just shows you that if a single thing were to change, like let's say a correction of the stock market by 20% and all those rich people stop spending, at least even more of a doom loop that goes through the economy.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and the last piece we have here is just specifically about consumer sentiment, which we can put up on the screen. This was the write-up from CNN. They say it's consumer sentiment plunges over tariff and inflation fears. So we already saw a pullback in consumer sentiment in January. There was another one in February. This is according to the University of Michigan's latest survey. Released Friday showed it had declined in February for the second consecutive month, down by a steep 10%. from January. That was double the decline initially reported earlier this month. And there's a partisan valence to this, so Republicans are still feeling pretty good, but both Democrats and independents experienced a fall in consumer sentiment. So, you know, when you put all these pieces together, it's a pretty perilous landscape. And, you know, you, again, layer on top of it the austerity push from Elon and Doge and the amount of chaos and uncertainty that's injecting with the federal workforce, and, you know, all of the ancillary jobs that are connected to the federal government and the federal workforce, all of the services throughout the country, things like the national parks, et cetera, that are important to the local economies. And it ends up in a pretty concerning picture for the future.
That's right. So everybody just pay attention. The economy, I mean, who knows where things could go. But I'm the most worried, and what we always talk about here is the concentration of the Magnificent Seven stocks in the S&P 500 and the difference and just the sheer ability of the indexes right now to crash just as a result of a reduction in the tech market is like a huge threat, especially if all of those are overvalued. And when there's a market correction and high interest rates, think about that. Money's expensive and people's overall assets are low. It will just lead to a total change in consumer behavior, especially for people at the top. It could have all sorts of crazy impacts. So I'm really worried about it. It could also, obviously, what's the easiest thing to do whenever there's a crash? They fire a bunch of people. So then, you know, we actually have high employment right now, some of the highest ever. But we could have like the worst 1970s scenario of like bad asset prices, high interest rates, high unemployment. It would just be a complete, not to mention, you know, all the domestic strife and all that stuff. I'm still waiting for America to break. Like, I don't know how long they can take it. I just don't get it. The home price thing is the one I think about the most, where I'm like, man, like just, you know, decades. If you're like 47 and you still have been unable to buy a house, what do you do? Like, that would break me personally. So I just have no idea like how much longer this whole thing can go on.
Yeah, if you look at the cost of housing, education, healthcare over decades, it just, I mean, it has skyrocketed astronomically, so that the number of hours you have to work at, like, you know, an average wage job to be able to afford those things has, I mean, it's just skyrocketed. It's insane compared to what it used to be. And so even as you look at these various indicators of, oh, in this way, America's doing better and Americans are wealthier, et cetera, but when you talk about these core staples of a affordable, of like a basic middle class life, those are the things that have gone through the roof, and there's really no, you know, no end in sight, no serious attempt being made to deal with housing prices. And that's such a core component too of how Americans have traditionally been able to build wealth and stability. So that's why we always pay a lot of attention to it. But yeah, a lot of warning signs here.
Yep.
In any case, Luigi Mangione made an appearance in court this week, and our own Spencer Snyder was there to talk to some of the protesters who were in and around the courtroom about why they were there and what they were hoping to see from this trial. Let's go ahead and get to that.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.